All right, all right. What's going on? How we doing? How we doing? Let's make sure the camera's set up. Yep. Oh shit. What's going on, James Jones? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in early. A little bit of a later stream today, but I've been out surf fishing. So, I've been trying to go fishing every day for a couple hours. I've been filming with the GoPro, getting a ton of B-roll footage. And the past couple days, super windy, blowing 15, 20. I don't even know why I went the one day. The funny thing is, when it was blowing 20 the one day, I actually had a bite. But went yesterday. Some guys with surf rods were getting them outside of my reach. And went back today, and I could see the structure that just recently formed. So we have some trenches. So we'll be taking a look. I took a bunch of photos, or some photos. And I also did I've been doing a ton of commercial fly tying. So I've been catching up on orders and all that, getting all that stuff done. Because, what do you call it? It's fall time. So it's we got to get all that stuff done. And then soon we'll be making a ton of videos. Probably tonight I'm going to record something. Fly tying related, but I have some topic videos I want to do. Also, what do you call it? I was gonna do the fishing for albies from shore. I might put that off for a little bit, work on that over the winter, and do something striper related, fishing from beaches and stuff. So, because I kind of waited a little too long for the albie one, so I'm gonna try and get as much footage as I can from people, and work on it, make a, serious video. So, I could do it soon, but I almost kind of want to wait and release it before next season. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, I got a ton of stuff to do, video related, that we got to catch up on. So I still have a fair amount of fly tying I need to do, but in fact, right now we're actually going to be tying. I'll show you some of the larger surf flies that I tie. This is actually an order for somebody. They're going to be fishing from a boat, but we're going to tie a big bucktail receiver, and then after that, we'll mess around with some flies for me for surf fishing. So let me move this camera because I don't want to have to worry about this thing. Just want to kind of set it and forget it. Let me get comfortable, get where I like it. I like having the vise close to me. I bring it towards the edge of the table, so. O'Shaughnessy, yeah, this is actually a what do you call it? The classic 34007. This isn't even a fly hook, but I've been fishing these in the surf, dude. This is what I've been tying all my teasers on, and the local shop out east, he's been selling those teasers like crazy, so they must be catching a ton of fish on them. But these are solid hooks. I've been fishing them in the surf, and I've been running this thing through 6-foot waves right on the beach, and the hook has been staying ultra sharp. I love this hook. It's great. It's not even a fly hook, even though the classic 34007, they had a fly hook variant, I believe, at some point. And before that was the hook everyone used. We used to just call it the 007, which was also a term that we would use for the weight of a diamond jig as well. Yeah, it's a great hook. Cheap as well. You can get a box of 100 for a great price. Which is a classic good hook. Good all-around hook. It's got enough weight to it as well for this larger bucktail deceiver that we're tying. This is for somebody that's going to be fishing from a boat. I don't even know where. I think Jersey or somewhere, something like that. Somewhere on the island. I don't even remember. I remember when I talked to him. Hey, Paul. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. And Doc, what's going on, Doc? How you doing? Yeah, this is a 4-rod O'Shaughnessy, and it's pretty big, so it's definitely large enough. And we're gonna be tying a. Let me double check, but I believe it's they're chartreuse and white and pink and white is what we're doing color-wise. Let me just double check. Double. Pink and white and chartreuse and white, yep. Okay. So we got some bucktail. So we'll get our tail section. Also, I want to put a lead keel. This guy is specifically fishing off a boat with these, so I want them to kind of sink a little quicker. Even though you shouldn't have a problem with a bucktail deceiver. Bucktail flies do sink slower than synthetic flies, what I learned fishing off boats for big bass. So let's just do a simple, let's do strips. We could wrap, but I kind of want to build strips off the belly. Might have cut some of these a little too long. We'll see. I just like cutting a chunk of them, like 3 at a time, and just tying them on there. If some of them are too long, we'll cut it so there's no uneven weight balance. What you do before you really wrench them down, you got to look from the top and make sure that the lead wire is even. So, we could add more. This is just kind of to help it get down. Now, the hook is pretty heavy enough, so I was fishing. I tied, what we'll do later, we'll tie some flies for myself. Will the weight out the back turn, will the weight out the back turn the bucktail deceiver? What do you mean, Jim? You mean on the belly or on the back? Like this? Or do you mean weight tied off the back like that? This is there's two ways, there's multiple ways you can do a lead keel. You can wrap lead near the bend of the hook and like glue it in some way, like, or tie it in that way. Gunnar Brammer does that and it's pretty effective. I'm just not a fan of that personally for saltwater fishing. Mark Sadati does, wraps the lead wire and then ties a kind of strips 5 wide. We're probably just going to do 5 wide once because we don't really need that much. And we don't even need that to turn over the fly. This is a heavy enough hook and we're tying a bucktail deceiver and we're going to tie it somewhat bulky, but not too bulky to where it's going to just float on the water, you know. Out the tail off the back. It won't necessarily help it turn over, I don't think, but it will affect the way that the fly swims. So, for instance, if you take a piece of monofilament, Henry Cowan was talking about this recently. If you take a piece of weight and tie it off the back, like on a piece of lead wire, like we saw in that surf candy with that bend that he was talking about, or if we have the something like Mark Sadati used to do, or I've seen other flies where they have like wire or mono stiff, and then you wrap lead wire on that. Or if you can find a way to have weight off the back, what that'll do is, I don't think that will necessarily help the fly turn over probably, but what it will do, if you can get it right, it'll cause the fly to swim erratically and jerk. That's something we've got to experiment with. Not with this fly, but we'll do it later. But you got to make sure, if you're doing that, you got to make sure the fly itself is balanced properly. So it all comes down to using a heavy enough hook, a large enough hook, and not using too much materials. You can always add things like lead keels to help, but this will also help like cut through the wind. It'll help it turn over. It'll help it sink a little faster. You can wrap it. You can cut it and tie it strips like this. You can do the wraps down here. But I don't think sticking lead wire off the back will cause it to actually turn over if you, let's say you tie too much material on the fly, for instance. Now, the whole idea is you want to tie the fly in a way that you're not causing that issue, right? You want to tie your fly in a way to where it's going to naturally turn over. And that comes to picking the right hook and also how sparse you're tying it, right? And generally, sparser is better. Even now, I always like got to tell myself, like, chill out sometimes. There are times, though, that bulky flies are nice, especially fishing in the surf, like a big snake fly or something. You're pushing a ton of water, right? And, you know, you're not worried about how sparse the fly is because you're fishing in, like, the most wild conditions where there's just constant surf breaking and waves and whitewash. So it's kind of a different type of fishing, but Let's also turn the music down, so it's not too loud. And make sure I have my Twitch up too, just so I can see. Okay. So let's tie so we have our 5 pieces of 0.025 lead wire. I think I ran out of 0.035. That's what I would have used, but it is also somewhat bulkier and can make it harder to tie. And we're going to tie a nice big feathery tail off the back of this. This is our bucktail support for the tail. Now this is my absolute favorite Popovix fly, is the bucktail deceiver. This is the fly that I've like caught the most striped bass on probably over the years. And it's like my go-to searching fly. It's just an all-around good fly. And you don't need like fancy bucktail for it. Like you do hollow flies and things like that. So, and this was the fly that like really honed, I think, that inspired the hollow fly as well. Like Bob Popovix started with the bucktail deceiver, and then it morphed into, probably with other inspirations from other places, who knows, into the hollow fly. So before the hollow fly, there was the bucktail deceiver, and this is what I tied for years before I even read an article first in, I think it was like Fly Fishing Saltwater or Saltwater Fly Fishing Magazine, one of those, about Popovix hollow fly. And I remember because I got the article and I went to Turkey with my family for like a wedding or something during the winter. And I brought bucktail and all my fly tying stuff, including the scissors. I had to put it in my suitcase because I couldn't bring it, obviously. So I couldn't tie on the plane even though I wanted to. And I spent the whole time there trying to tie hollow flies. And they were absolute, like if you casted it and it landed on the water, it probably would float even if you tried sinking it. You know what I mean? They were way too much bucktail. The hair was super stiff. Because I just didn't have the right stuff. And you had to figure it out from a magazine, not from like a video, so it was way harder. You had to read like, what is he doing, tying it forward and then folding it? And it was just like one photo and then the next photo, you know? It was tricky. I think it's definitely what helped make me at least a somewhat competent fly tyer. I guess you could somewhat argue, but is that learning how to fly tie like that. It's a lot of trial and error, so you get a lot of experience out of it, at least. So, Chris from Saltwater Flies sent me a bunch of hackle. And I like these. They're kind of skinny. I wouldn't really use these for a lot of other stuff, but we're going to use these for this. And then we need some nice white hackle, which I don't know if I have anything too long, so we might mix some Chinese and some nice flat wing hackle to get multiple lengths. Which is perfectly good thing, a perfectly fine thing to do. We can even add some yellow in there. Shouldn't get too fancy. These aren't $20 flies. The scrimpish ones are. I gotta tie a couple of those suckers. We are kind of pimping these bucktail deceivers out. We can go with like, we should probably go with 2 hackle and tent it, and then we'll go with the Chinese underneath. We're going to do kind of like a Semperfly-esque tail with 6 feathers. But it's really just tenting top and bottom is really what I would call it, I guess. And I tell you what, Johnny King converted me to wrapping your thread underneath the tail to prevent the fouling. And to give you that pocket underneath the tail for better motion. So in fact, we may not tie hackle underneath Semperfly style. We might just stay on top. Because that does create that pocket. But, I mean, I didn't have my fly foul once today. This big bucktail deceiver in the rear. And then with like a Johnny King's Kinky Mother style tail, hackle-wise, with lawn hackle. And then I did bucktail deceiver. And then the front section I did a kind of Catherwood snakefly head. And I fished that all day for like 3 hours, and it didn't foul once. It was beautiful. And this is the thing, like, normally, yeah, a nice day, you know, and you're not overexerting yourself, like a lot of flies won't foul. The second you get into really windy conditions and you're casting with like very fast action, a lot of flies will foul, even like flat winds, things like that. So I got to tell people sometimes to slow down their cast if they're fouling more traditional style flat winds that don't have the support in the tail or as strong of support, because you're whipping that fly like crazy. But when you're fishing in the surf and the fly is getting tossed in the wave and just tumbling around like crazy, like almost any sort of fly will get tangled a lot of times or foul. So having a fly that doesn't like drag its hook point through the sand, aka is somewhat buoyant, and having a fly that has a that doesn't foul is really important, especially at night, because the last thing I want to do is like have to grab the fly and check it at nighttime with my hands, because I'm not turning my headlamp on or something. I haven't even had a lamp the past couple times I went. I realized while I was out there, I was like, what if I actually hook like a giant fish? I'm like, this is going to be crazy. I have to use my phone, but yeah, I'm kind of in surf fishing mode now because the albies are all done. So we're going to have to probably do a surf fishing video, because that's it's that time. And I've been struggling the past week or so, but we're finally getting structure on the beach. I'm going to show you guys. I got some cool photos of some of the structure at low tide. So today I like went out and walked on the sandbar, which probably right now-ish is like completely underwater. And there's probably like fish feeding on. There's probably guys there too. I saw actually yesterday, I was there and saw some dudes with spinning rods catching with surf rods. And I saw this guy, I mean, while I was walking up, I must have been half a mile away. This guy had this light on, and it looked like he was dealing with the fish. I'm like, okay. I mean, I watched this dude for at least, I'd say 3 to 5 minutes, probably well over 5 minutes. Hold this, probably keeper size striped bass by the gills, and just like with a light and like looking with it, and then he turned his light off and he was doing stuff, but I don't think he ever kept it. He probably just threw it back, and I was like, that fish definitely died. That guy had that fish out of the water for so long, holding it by the gills, fiddling with it, probably treble hooked it in the gills and all this, you know what I mean, with a plug or something. I was just like, oh my God. And he never like went back to shore, so I'm assuming he didn't keep the fish. It's not like people keep fish on a stringer on their hip in the surf, you know what I mean? But so I was like, I'm done at this point, because I was fishing for so long. Because I fished for a bit, you know, after seeing some dudes hooking up, but they were well outside my reach. They were outside the breakers, so. The only problem is I can only fish for like a couple hours now, in the surf especially, because you get tossed around, right? You're getting beat up. The sand is always moving under your feet, and my back just ends up killing me. And I got to do a lot of walking, so. Like today I left my backpack in the car specifically. I put a water bottle in my waders and a bag of flies with an extra liter. I was prepared. And it definitely helped, but I only fished for 2.5 hours, and I was like, dude, my back is freaking shot, so. Because it's just rough, you know? It's rough conditions. But that's the way it is. That's why I like it. It's surf fishing. It's like the coolest way to fly fish, but. It's just the structure. Soon the structure will be there, so it's like 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and like the first week or second week into December, we can still catch them, but it starts getting cold. But so I've been putting my time in, man. I'm really trying to hone my skills when it comes to my local beach in particular, because the beaches here are really tough. The problem is the fish just don't come in close a lot of times. But I'll get them. I get them at certain times of the year, so it's just a labor of love, because there's just way better ways I could be spending my time than just getting my ass kicked in the surf. It's quite literally. People are like, you're fly fishing out here? I'm like, hell yeah. I was bombing it, too. Today I was doing 100-foot casts. I had a 10-mile-per-hour west wind, and that's kind of off my right shoulder. I'm a lefty. So I was bombing these casts. I kind of actually wish I had, like, 120, 130 foot of fly line instead of 100, because I was getting 100-foot casts every time. I'm using my switch rod, and I'm using it single hand style, so I'm just doing 1 or 2 false casts. But it's got a pretty, and I switched to floating line. I got to say, I'm really impressed with floating line in the surf. I haven't really fished much over the years with floating lines, and you're able to just kind of ride your line over the waves. But that's if it's not too rough. If it's like 5-foot breakers one after another, it's really tough. But you'll see. I got some pretty good footage of fishing with sinking lines versus, or like intermediate style sink tip lines versus the floating lines, and how you can fish them, and how like how the current affects your line. Because really our biggest issue with fishing the surf for striped bass is distance, meaning if the fish aren't close, you have to get it out farther, and we just pretty much can't. We can't get 200-foot casts. And the other issue is, so if, like for instance, if there's no fish close in your area, then it's like really tough, obviously, right? Let me adjust the ISO as well. And the other thing is presentation. The other issue is because the current is, and the waves are so strong at times that your fly is just, you can't get a natural presentation. So you got to do as many things as you can to present your fly in a natural way, just like how we talked about before. Just like everything is presentation. And to do that, you know, it's tough, but you gotta, for instance, like use the right lines, use the right flies. Sorry, I'm just looking for flash. I'm wondering, what should we use here? Probably regular flash boo. There we go. Yeah, I think we'll use some chartreuse flash as well. But yeah, that's you know, it's not. There's certainly better beaches on Long Island to surf fish, but I hate driving to go fishing. I like staying local, and I know there's fish around. I've seen people catching. I know they're fish, so I just have to adapt. Because we did it last year. I went out with my surf rod. Maybe this year we'll do that. We'll do a video where it's like me fishing all day with the fly rod, and then I'll just pick up the surf rod and we'll catch a couple bass by dredging a 007, getting it way out past the breakers. It was funny. I was fishing like all day last year, and then I was like, you know what? I'm bringing my surf rod next time. And I rigged up one of my teasers because I really wanted to test out the teasers, and it was like one after another. Each cast I was getting decent sized fish. I think one fish was like 33 inches too, and I was like so upset. I was like, ah! I'm like, it's too easy. Why can't I catch you on the fly? And it's really just like distance at the time. And then in November we get the troughs, and now the fish start coming in to like where they're within 100 feet. So that's really the issue. It's really tough, you know, because the fish will be just, so it's a very good lesson that structure and location is kind of the most important thing while surf fishing. Like, you can cast as much as you want walking up and down a beach over and over again, but there's a good chance that like 90% of the fish are in like 5% of the beach where there's like holes or trenches, and that doesn't mean they're just sitting there, but they're moving through those trenches and doing things and feeding at certain times and like trying to find them. So it's like, this is why having a 4x4 truck on the beach is great. I don't like taking my truck on the beach because I'm like getting as many miles out of that thing as I can. It's an old Suburban. But what do you call it? The 4x4 is great because you got to travel a lot, and you got to go from like trench to trench or hole to hole, and you'll see a lot of guys, they hop out of their truck, they make like 3 casts, and then they just keep driving, and you got to just search. So I don't really have that luxury, so what I got to do is, what do you call it? Pick a spot and then just walk, and I usually walk like about, you know, half a mile to a mile at times, depending, like in terms of maybe not a mile, maybe like 3/4 at most, but I'll like either work one way down the beach and try and find the structure because it can change daily with waves and stuff and storms. and then work my way back. And if I find a good spot, I'll work it for a while, because that's usually where the fish are. But even then, it's tough, man. Like last year, I think if I got one fish a week in November, like it was, because especially some days are blowing like 20 miles per hour, you know, right in your face or something. It was really tough, but like that was like a good week. If I got a couple fish a day, I was like, damn, that's a good day. You know what I mean? So I'm going to also try and fish later into the year. I want to fish into December, because over the years, I remember fishing like a couple weeks away from my birthday in late December and catching fish like while it was snowing with South Fork salt. So actually got to get an inspection on my truck. I didn't realize I haven't been driving it, so I was like, oops. Because they have part of the roads closed to go to the beach because of the new moon. So they like literally block the road off, and they say high tide and this and that, flood area, and they allow people to drive through it. But they're also like, if you drive through there, then you gotta call somebody yourself, buddy, because we warned you. You get caught over there at high tide with a low car on a full moon or new moon, and you can hydrolock your motor. So it's something you don't want to do usually. So I need to get my truck so I can drive, not worry about getting stuck out there. That being said, there's still some great spots I can get to. They're pretty close, so. I saw one guy told me he had a fish today. We were working this piece of structure, but I kind of let him be. So I might have got there too late. Like, it seems like right now my best chances are fishing at low tide. Not only do I get to find the structure quite easily, but the main thing is that the waves like aren't that bad. Once the tide starts coming in, and this is probably when the best fishing is as well, because the waves are washing over these bars into these troughs. But I mean, we're talking like 5-6 foot breakers right on the beach at times, like at least like chest level, right? So it's like it's tough. But you know, I'm stubborn. I'm not gonna like give up and just start spin fishing. You know what I mean? We're not LI spinning rod Mike like Diego used to call us after shark fishing once. All right. So let's see. We got, again, I'm trying to keep this somewhat sparse, but also with a nice profile. And this isn't the softest bucktail. You can use some stiffer bucktail for something like this. So, like, it's not, you know, crazy primo stuff. I do want to add some angel hair, though, throughout it. So. I don't really have any nice pearl. Maybe we can add, I don't know if I want to add silver. We do have this. Hold on, just give me a sec. I'm looking at what we could add here. All right. That might work. So we're just going to move forward, and the easy thing about a bucktail deceiver is you just move up the hook shank and tie your next collar, tapering down your length if you like. I like to just taper down every time, and then when we get to the front, we go with a little bit more of a drastic taper. But, I mean, there's different ways of going about building the profile of the fly that you can do. So even though this isn't the best bucktail, I mean, it's nice. It's long enough to where we can work with it and get some pretty sweet flies, you know? Oh, you'll see, Paul. You'll see in the video we make about surf fishing. In the one video, I mean, no joke, you actually really got to be careful. Like, the surf guys can just stand back, right? Even them, they'll stay like, but a lot of times they'll try and stay knee deep. Like sometimes we got to get a little bit deeper, right? Because we got a fly rod and we're trying to get every foot can count, right? Especially when you're like casting all your line. So like you have to like play with the waves at times. It's really dangerous. So you got to make sure you're wearing a wading belt. Even though I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel like wading belts like I don't even know if it's gonna help after time, but you got to make sure you don't get sucked in because there's like essentially it drops off like really close next to the beach. We have very steep beaches on the South Shore, so you have to like at times move forward when the waves aren't bad, and you get your break in the waves. You can cast and actually fish it for like 15 to 20 seconds, good. And then the waves, like you get your next set of waves coming, you kind of have to like step back, right? But the number one thing is like you can't turn your back to the waves because you get clobbered, and then next thing you know, you get sucked into a trench, right? And you're just in neoprene waders drowning. So it's definitely, you have to be very careful. This dude actually metal detecting yesterday. It was just getting dark, and the waves are really rough. And I'm sitting there, I'm fishing right on the, right on the edge. And I walk back to the dune where my backpack was. I'm changing a fly, and the metal detecting dude was coming through. And I guess he didn't see me walk back, and he was coming because he thought I like was drowning or something. He was like walking this way. He was like, He was like, oh, thank God. He's like, oh my God, I thought you got sucked in by the water or something. I was like, no, this ain't my first rodeo, but thank you for checking at least. So I thought that was nice of him to make sure that I wasn't dying. You get people who are really ballsy, and what they do is because what happens is there'll be a somewhat deep area, let's say like waist deep, like one step off the beach, right? And then it's like maybe 10, 15 feet wide at times, sometimes just a couple feet wide. Today it was like 5 foot, but it can be like 20 feet wide. So you'll get this like hole, and then you'll get a sandbar. So you'll get these like, you'll have like an area where there's like a deep spot here. So like, let's just say this is the shore and this is a sandbar. There's a deep spot here, and then you get another sandbar like this. So dudes will stand here. So at low tide, they cross the somewhat deep spot here, and they fish over the next bar. The problem is as the tide comes in, then this trough right next to the beach, this is the shore of this finger, is pretty deep now. It's like up to like over your head at times, right? And the sand shifting. So what happens is dudes will like fish, and then it'll be incoming tide, and then they'll be stuck there, and they have to cross, or somebody will step off of a sandbar, and you will just see, like, I've seen people like completely go under. So, and if somebody's not there, like, you are 100%, if you can't get your waders off, which sounds easy, but let me tell you, it is one of the hardest things to do, to get your waders off like that. Even with a wading belt, I mean, you're just, a lot of times in the winter, you got to fish with neoprene, so you're just so heavy, right? And then your legs will be buoyant, but your head won't be, so you'll flip over, and so it's like crazy. So a lot of times when that happens, you have a buddy with you, and they can stick their surf rod down and save you. I've seen a couple of people have that exact situation happen. So you have to be very careful. I don't get that ballsy with it because I'm fly fishing. You would think that means I want to get to those spots, but I'm like, dude, I'm not dying to not catch a fish. Like, you guys, that extra 50 feet might help you with a spin rod. It might help me too, but I'm like, dude, no, I'm good. But you saw last year I posted photos. They're at low tide. You can walk out to those spots, and then those deeper spots in between the shore and you can actually sight fish. We're gonna do it this year. It's gonna be in November. It's probably going to happen like any day now in a week or so. But I'm going to specifically, at low tide, go and set up and try and sight fish striped bass in the troughs. Because I saw one swimming right next to me, nose down, looking for sand eels. And I was on the outer bar looking towards the shore, And I didn't even like try and cast to him or anything like that because I couldn't. Like, he was right there because I couldn't see him till the last second because they're so bright when they're in the surf like that. But I think if I set up, and no matter what, I caught fish in there just blind casting. But I think if I set up, I can actually like try and sight fish one. I'm actually tempted to take a ladder onto the sandbar, which sounds psychotic, but it could work as well. I've done the whole ladder thing before, and I'm kind of over it. I've brought ladders on my kayak and went out to the offshore flats and fished with them. And they're cool, but, like, I don't know, dude. I couldn't see a damn thing. So I had to go back. I actually did. This was hilarious. I bought a ladder. It was like an $80-$100 ladder, too, from Home Depot. Went out and fished with it on my kayak and then brought it back and returned it after that. I'm like, screw that, dude. They didn't even know either. I was like, hell yeah. I was standing on that thing in the saltwater for like 6 hours on the flat one day at high tide. I had my kayak anchored probably about 100 feet away because there was a little bit of hull slap on my kayak. So I had my kayak anchored and I was standing on the ladder, and I was stuck there because I put myself on this flat at high tide or low tide and waited for high tide so I could fish on the ladder. Kind of like Pyramid Lake sort of thing, but for striped bass. Because people were doing that in the like 2000s, like Monomoy Flats and places like that. So I was like, screw it, I'll do it out here on an offshore flat. So I've done it before. I've done it from from shore. It is cool, but it's like such a pain, dude. And it never helped me, so I don't know. But you can sight fish for striped bass with a ladder. That is a real. I've seen dudes do it. I think what you really use a ladder for, what it's most optimally used for when fishing from shore, is when the water is too deep. So you can go out to a spot when it's lower tide, stand on the ladder, get up on the ladder, and then when it's high tide, you're like way farther out. So that's one thing you can do, even though it's dangerous. But I watched an old man catch like the largest weak fish I've ever seen on a live bunker doing that back in like the 90s. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I'm like, is this guy got a ladder? And he snagged a bunker, and it was super high tide, so he couldn't like, go anywhere, but he was stuck on the ladder. But I'll never forget that. He caught like a giant weak fish. It was crazy. All right, let's keep going. Thinking about the good old days when I used to catch a lot of fish. Let's see. We gotta go with a little super glue here. I think we're gonna add a little angel hair, a tiny bit. In fact, now's the time to do it. Go with some wind and flash. Yeah, we'll do I gotta get some footage of. It's really tough to actually film in the surf, right? Unless you set a camera up like way back on the beach, which I really don't like to do. It's blowing, there's people walking everywhere, the waves will come up, especially soon when it gets rough, the waves will come up and like all the way up to the dune because there's like no beach. So I wear a GoPro, but man, I am getting soaked. Like if you look, my sweater here is covered in salt because I was just getting absolutely hammered by waves. So the really tough thing is not having the GoPro have that thing happen with that, sometimes in the Albie video you saw, where the salt gets on the lens of the camera and like kind of blurs it out almost. So I actually kept a bottle of water with me, not only to drink, but also to specifically like wash the front of the GoPro so I could clean it with my sleeves. It's one of the reasons why there's not a lot of footage of me filming fish in the surf, because you just get absolutely wet a lot of times. So I'm like, dude, I don't want to film, because I can never really get good footage. But this year I'm trying to get some really good footage of the surf. I'm gonna try and somebody asked if they could come out today, but I told them like there's no structure and I haven't really caught anything, and I've been going every day. So maybe in like a week or so the fish will actually be like, it'll be fly mode essentially. So maybe we'll have someone come out with us and I can kind of get some footage of them or me fishing, so I can get some good shots explaining like how to fish structure and stuff like that, because it's really hard to do that by myself. It's kind of one of the biggest issues. just a GoPro shot over the chest, you know, or whatever. Chest mount. Just take a little bit of angel hair here and tie this on top over the bucktail and then brush it. Just like that. Just give it a little bit of flashiness inside underneath the bucktail collars. Nice little touch. Oh man, I got to clean out the super glue bottle. Got all crusted up at the end. I've been using it like crazy, so excuse me. I generally leave the cap off, like while I'm tying, doing a tying session. I just leave the cap off. It's not like the bottle will dry up. And then when I'm done for the day, I'll put it back on. And if it ever that happens, I just like take a pair of pliers and break the mountain of super glue that's built up on the tip of it off. Then we're good to go. If I had to put the tip of that bottle or the cap on that bottle every time I used it, oh my god, that would drive me crazy. I use super glue so much. Something about bucktail flies just look so good. I mean, it's just natural. It's I think the ideal fly tying material for saltwater is bucktail. If you only had one material that you could use, it's the most versatile material in my opinion. You'd be limited in length, right? And but I feel like you could tie so many, like, because there's just so many patterns for a long time. There's a reason why so many flies are tied with bucktails, because the movement that the natural material inherently has is far superior to synthetics a lot of times. Not always. Well, it's not that, yes, generally the movement is always superior, but the in the water and the breathability of it. But the sometimes that's, you know, you don't need that. Sometimes you need a fly that doesn't foul and you can strip or something or whatever, vice versa. But I mean, bucktail flies, I mean, come on, what are we talking about, you know? It's the classic. When I think of saltwater flies, I think of a bucktail fly. Some form or shape, there's bucktail is an integral part of the fly. That's just what comes to mind, especially because I've been fly tying for a really long time. So, you know, the plethora of synthetics and the manner and techniques to tie flies with synthetics wasn't readily available back then. So you had a far less brands and types of synthetic materials available. So a lot of bucktail and a lot of deer hair, a lot of feathers, a lot of marabou, stuff like that. Hell, they didn't even have good stick-on eyes or 3D eyes back in the day, so they had to use jungle cock or they had to use other feathers. You know what I mean? For eyes. Or people just didn't use eyes, because probably don't even need them, but... This is what I always say. To put eyes on the fly, you have to drastically change the shape of the fly or how you want the fly to fish, then just don't put the eyes on. Like, let's say you have a beautiful hollow fly, but you're like, man, I wish I could put eyes on there. Let me UV resin eyes on. But then it completely changes the shape and profile of the fly. Like, you do not want to do that, right? So you'll see a lot of times for me, or if I post photos on Instagram of me like going out and fishing, or like I'll post a photo of like me fishing on the beach or whatever, and you can see the fly. You won't see eyes on a lot of flies. I mean, some you will. But like things like snake flies, who the hell cares about eyes? Like the fish can't even see the fly half the time. They're like feeling it, or they're getting a glimpse of it from below. So they're not gonna tell if it has eyes on it or not. All right, now we can add some. Once we get towards the front, we can start adding some darker color, I suppose, or darker chartreuse. It's crazy. I could show you like 5 bucktails that were all labeled chartreuse bucktails on the bags, and they are all different colors. This is almost like a yellow. You range from like yellow all the way to like what do you call it? Like a Kelly green almost, you know? crazy. By the way, you always want to get the shorter hairs out when you're tying these, or any sort of bucktail fly, and you're going for length. Larger flies like this, always get out all the shorter hairs. It just gives you a much cleaner fly in appearance. You see people like Jason Taylor or probably Andrew Warshar, people like that, and when they cut a thin bucktail off for a hollow tie, like half of the bucktail is just going to get pulled out, you know? So you're going to cut it and then take all that, what do you call it? Take all those short hairs out, and you see a lot of material getting pulled out, but that's what you're going for. So I don't go that aggressive with it because we're not tying hollow flies. I don't need it that long. But yeah. Now we can add some. Let me find. There's multiple chartreuse tails. Go birds! What's going on, Dad Life? How you doing? Yeah, get on your YouTube account. There you go. Twitch is cool and all, to all my Twitchers, but I gotta say, YouTube is a far superior platform. For sure. Like, if you're just live streaming, then maybe Twitch is okay, you know, but I'm a believer. I'm a YouTube convert. For user experience and for content creation. So definitely it's a good idea to diversify, you know what I mean? Just got home from flipping rocks looking for crabs. Oh, there you go. You're getting ready for some blackfish. Tautogs. Yeah, it'd be kind of right around this time of year coming up. We would be green crab, me and AC, but he's getting ready. He's going to be going on like a world trip. In fact, we're going to probably be streaming us tying like exotic flies. So like tarpon flies, bonefish, permit, jacks, you know, GT flies, who the hell knows. But AC Fishing is going to be like traveling on a tuna boat around the world, fishing like off like, you know, crazy waters and stuff. So we're going to be tying some cool stuff. When I found out, I was like, dude, he better go on that trip because that's like a once in a lifetime thing. So that's awesome. I was super stoked for him. So he's bringing his fly rods. He said he called me the other day. He wants flies. So I was like, all right, we'll get you a nice little selection at some point. So we'll have you guys pick a bunch of different flies and stuff you think would be good for like permit, bonefish, and then we'll just tie them like a bunch of random good patterns. We'll have you guys get involved, the chat, because I'm not a bonefish expert. I mean, you could probably just tie a bunch of gotchas, right, and a bunch of merkins and yada, yada, yada. But, you know, it'd be cool to kind of like pick and choose and have you guys give some insight, because a lot of you folks have done way more tarpon fishing than I have, or bonefish and permit, you know. We have some folks that, you know, or that follow me on Instagram or YouTube or Twitch that have like done that for their entire life or something. So I'm always open for suggestions. Absolutely a trip for a lifetime. So, and then we're talking about the fly fishing, but they're going to be offshore fishing for tuna and stuff like that the whole time. So forget about the other like marlin and all sorts of crazy stuff you'd see out there. Swordfish, who the hell knows? Giant mahis, every sort of tuna, billfish, right? And then all the inshore, yada, yada, yada. I mean, it's going to be sick, so good for him, dude. So we'll time some cool flies. Man, you can send us, you can post some photos on the Discord every once in a while, I'll tell him, for us. Brush this out here. Yeah, so I got to tie another one of these in pink and white. I have to tie 2 Squimpish hollows, and this is for a customer on Instagram, which I will do tonight. Tomorrow I'm going to the post office. I actually got to double check. Fuck, just realized we got to reply on the YouTube comment and let someone know who won last month. But next week is our giveaways, giveaway video on YouTube and giveaways on Twitch. So, I gotta see. I think there might be one or two stuff I have to ship out, but we're pretty much caught up on everything. So, but I gotta double check. But I gotta go tomorrow. I gotta ship out a bunch of stuff, saltwaterflies.com. So, did 50 surf candies and 10 albihos for them. All right, let's finish this sucker off. I do want to put Pink in the Throat because Henry Cowan is what we need to do is we need to make the greatest fly of all time, where we take the piece de resistance, or like a really good aspect of a fly from like all the great fly tires. Like we're doing the tail. This kind of really is. That's like pretty much the way I describe my fly tying, is just pretty much an amalgamation of like mixing up different styles and techniques from like all my favorite fly tires, right? I definitely somewhat have my own style, but I'm not a fly designer, right? I'm a fly tyer. Like I don't design flies for a living. I tie flies for a living, right? Fishing flies. But like we have the Johnny King's Kinky Mother style inspiration for the hackle, right, with the tented hackle and the wraps, and then we have the bucktail deceiver style bodies, and we got some of the Pink in the Throat. Even though it's not fluorofiber, I gotta buy fluorofiber according to Henry. So, but we need to do a fly where there's at least 10 different like notable things from different fly tires, and we mix it all together. That would be a fun thing, like a challenge where we like come up with where it's really just whatever, you know. I'm sure it would probably look like something somebody's done before, but that could be really cool. Like pick out maybe not 10, maybe we could do 10, but we could start out with like, because right now this is 3 essentially, right? But I feel like it'd be cool. Yeah, you need a high enough number to where you would have a diverse thing. We also need to do we got to get back to roll your own fly. I got to do roll your own fly video for the surf and whatnot. I'm thinking we're probably going to continue fishing even after striper season. We're going to try and catch the mystical white perch, which I've never caught locally. I've had to travel. But realistically, the main thing is we can go fish for some like pickerel, largemouth and stuff during the winter. And we might maybe we'll go make a video where we go trout fishing at some of the one of the places you can go during the winter. We'll go swing some flies. So you watch Henry's video on Masters of the Fly? Oh, very cool. I still haven't watched that yet. I have to catch up. I've only seen a couple episodes on there. So to be honest with you, I really don't watch a lot of fishing content because literally you got to realize I tie flies all day, and then I go fishing at times, and then I make videos about flies, and I edit videos about flies. The literal last thing I want to do is watch something to do with fishing. Most of the time, I need to watch. If I'm watching stuff, it's almost always something it's like never to do related with fishing, because I need to like have something that's not fishing related at times, so I don't get burnt out on it essentially. Because everything that I do is fishing related. So I need some sort of escape from reality every once in a while. But with the odd exception, I'll watch stuff specifically with like fly tire, like really, really good fly tires, where it's something is like a video on like Johnny King's tying his kinky mother or something, or things like that, like some of the Master on the Fly, like discussion type stuff every once in a while. But I do need to check out some of their stuff. The, what do you call it? There's Dave Blinken, who is a captain out on the North Shore in Montauk. And I forgot the other guy's name, but he's good friends with Mark as well. I always forget this guy's name, but they got a cool thing going on. They do some like live streams and stuff. I will say though, I'm not even joking. We have to have been we have to have done the most fly tying live streams more than like anywhere else on the internet. Unless there's somebody on like Facebook or something, but even then, or like we have probably streamed the most live fly tying on the planet. I really do feel like it. Is there anyone else that has, I'm trying to think, that streams fly tying and that has been doing it for this long? And like, I mean, we've streamed for so many years. We used to stream like 4 or 5 days a week at times, 3 days a week. We'd just tie for 3, 4, 5 hours. It's been like 7, 8, 9 years almost now or something. So I really feel like I've probably streamed more live fly tying than I mean anywhere else. I mean there might be like a couple people, but I really feel like I got to be like in the highest number of streamed live fly tying hours. I really do, because like even you would search on Twitch, nobody or nothing like that would pop up. YouTube didn't even have live streaming features back then, right? So I don't know. I'm genuinely curious. Like if we've live streamed more fly tying than anywhere else in the world. Unless there was just a place that's like set up 24/7, like at a fly shop or something. I don't know. But it's interesting to think about. Because if I type on Twitch and I look at my name and I click it, let's see how long I've been an affiliate. I streamed for about a year and a half before that, but we didn't start fly tying streaming. I tried streaming video games at first. So if I click my name, 87 months. So 87 months. God, man, it's been a while. Let's do the math here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my God, we've been streaming for a long time. 4 plus the 60 is 5. 72 is 6. So 7. It's like 7.5 years I've been an affiliate. So that means I've been fly tying streaming for 8.5 years. Damn, dude, it's been a while. 7.5 years I've been an affiliate on Twitch. That's crazy. That's when I really started streaming a lot. Or like really getting into fly tying on Twitch. That is actually wild. Nope. That'll make you feel old right there. I've wasted my life. What have I done? What have I done? My God. 8 years of my life down the drain streaming fly tying. No, I'm joking. Oh, man. Good times, good times. That's actually wild. It's funny because I saw somebody resub on Djibouti show, which is like, I will say, probably the only stream I watch really consistently on any platform is Djibouti show on Twitch, which I've just been watching them for years. For Justin from Djibouti Dubs, which he used to do like dub videos with Billy Mays. You may have seen in the way back on the internet. But there I watch all. Just hands down great stream. But somebody subbed for 100 months, and I was like, damn, dude. I was like, that got me thinking. I was like, how long? Because we haven't checked for a while. We're getting there. Like one more year or two. That's wild. Well, appreciate everyone that's been watching along the way. We've had some ups and downs. And by that, I mean in terms of like streaming as much, because for a while I was like clamming and bunker fishing every day. But now we're kind of back at the making videos and streaming regularly and this and that. So shout out to not only all the people who watched recently, but of course all the OGs. We got like Doc, we got all the Jin, all the people been watching for, man, years now. So, appreciate it. Hell yeah. What have you been doing, Doc? You been doing any fall-time fishing over there? We're going to go with a couple of different types of yellow here. So you can see, like, we still got a really nice big profile on this fly. And like, there's a pretty decent amount of bucktail, but this thing's gonna sink with a fast sinking line, and the main thing is gonna push water. So the squimpish flies will sink much quicker. That's why I told them we're gonna go with 2 bucktail deceivers. We'll go with 2 what do you call it? 2 squimpish flies. We put some lead weight on there. We got our giant hook. So you can have 2 style of flies that both kind of imitate larger baits that can also kind of fish differently, or you can fish them the same, but they'll kind of serve 2 purposes. You want some variety. Get some of that yellow right there, like that. Let's see, do we have some Lawner? Man, I gotta get some more chartreuse bucktail. This is all like the, we're getting near the end here of like usable bucktail, so for sure. A little bit on the stiffer side, but luckily for a bucktail deceiver, that's perfectly fine. In fact, sometimes more preferred. So we can get that fly that will push water and stuff. This is why it's such a great searching fly. Not only does it, look like the bait that a lot of times that they're trying to eat, but the main thing is it has a presence in the water. What I mean by that is not only, it doesn't matter what the colors are or whatever, as long as it's bright for a bright day, dark for a dark day. That's what I think personally, but it pushes water like crazy and sends out vibrations that the fish then pick up with their lateral lines. And that's really an important thing, especially when we're blind casting and we're searching and we don't know where the fish are. We want a fly that has a presence in the water like that, as opposed to like a little clouser, for instance. That's why I really think when like you can't really call like a clouser or like smaller deceivers searching flies, or like surf candy. Like searching flies, in my opinion, are flies that generally are, I guess you could say like some super flashy flies could be, but generally for me they're flies that have a that push water and that will, or potentially chug, like a popper or something, and they will get fish's attention in one way or another. But certainly you can use like flatwings as searching flies and stuff, but I always think of like bucktail deceivers, like more like hollows, snake flies, that they don't necessarily have to always represent exactly what they're eating. It's more like a predatory response. Like how many times have we surf fished for striped bass or spin fished, and you're throwing like some sort of swim bait type thing or like a diamond jig, and they're eating silver sides or something or whatever, but in your bait is like double the size, doesn't look anything like it, but they'll eat it. It's because they're also opportunistic, but it's like a predatory response to it. So I think we're gonna go with, I think I just a tiny bit more bucktail, just because I'm like a slightly offset here. It's kind of hard to see with the angle of the camera, but I want to get my profile nice and even on this fly. So we'll just go with a small amount and move it ever so slightly forward. This is more just for me and less for the customer or the fish. Then I could go like this. Actually back that off just a hair there. And I am going to be gluing eyes on this because this is a bucktail deceiver. Not as worried about it, but hollow fly wouldn't. Squimpish hollow we will because it's synthetic, but. And yeah, I actually don't want to go too crazy on the front here. So I'm just looking at the profile, seeing if I like it, or, definitely got to get some nicer chartreuse bucktail. I think what I'll do though is probably add some peacock curl. And I don't really have any or much left, so let's see here. I have these gigantic ones, but I'll show you a little trick, actually. Watch this. Don't want to waste them. These are really nice peacock curls, so just cut it and retie it. 3-for-1 special. We can even get another set. And it's fine if it's not perfectly tapered on the end of that peacock curl. That peacock curl, by the way, was like 14 inches long. David Nelson from Squimpish Flies gave me this a while back. And I've hoarded it. But every once in a while we need peacock curl, so there's not much of it left anyway, to be fair. Nah, not much. I was out in early October. My friend had 2 fish. Other than that, not much. Been busy with tying. Was hoping to get out over the weekend if the weather holds for a couple of days. Might get out one more time. Yeah, it's probably what's the weather like? It's probably getting colder out there now, huh? Definitely a little bit more north than us, I think. Yeah, and it also depends probably, right, how long the fish stick around, so. Like, our striped bass will stick around into the cold for quite a bit, but. In fact, I usually give up before the bass do, because when it's freaking snowing out fishing for stripers and you're soaking wet in the surf, it sucks, dude. Like, with a surf rod's one thing. Like, even Timmy, like, South Fork Salt was like, damn, dude, you're crazy for fly fishing and, like, 20-mile-per-hour wind in the snow, you know? But what are you going to do? It's a labor of love. Okay, let's glue an eye on here, too. Let me put all this bucktail away, because I've learned over the years if I don't put some of the material away midstream, what happens is I end up with half of all of my fly tying material I own on my desk and all around me. And then I'm like, what the hell happened? So, yeah, we're just going to make sure we put away the angel hair, put away the bucktail, all that. So I keep it somewhat organized and I know where it is. In the early days, that wasn't the case. I was chucking that stuff all over the place on stream, so. I'm going to put this hackle back. We'll glue some eyes on here, and then we'll take a quick little break, and when we come back, we'll probably tie another fly, but I kind of want to start, like, now I'm curious, I kind of want to tie, like, monofilament with lead wire off the back, and, like, try that sort of stuff, so. Maybe we'll do something funky like that. Do like a mini slammer with that mono and lead wire that we discussed. El Wormo, what's up? Is that the same worm that I know? That wanted to come fishing today? I actually went today. It was like 10 mile per hour west. So for a lefty like me, it wasn't terrible, but I fished for like 3-4 hours, or 2.5 hours, and nothing. But there is a little bit of, like, there actually is some structure forming, probably just last night, some trenches. So maybe next week or something, if you want to come out on Friday, feel free. Again, we got to see what the wind's like. But, I mean, no matter what, I mean, the wind is like, what are you going to do? So it wasn't as bad today, but. Yep, see, there were blitzes all over. Yeah, out west, this is the time of year out west where you're better off fishing out west that way. Yep. This is like when Jones Beach, like Robert Moses, and all those places like that where the fish are just blowing up, especially if you have a boat out there, but also from shore. They get them from shore over there. So, yep. We get that too, but it's not as consistent. It's definitely not as good. Well, I'm in a weird spot on the island for this time of year fishing. It used to be so much better in the 90s when there was like millions more striped bass. Like the stock of striped bass was higher because there was just more fish spread out. But now that there's less fish in general, like the fish are way more focused. Like it's definitely harder to pick like a random fish out of the surf, for instance. So at least with a fly rod, like a bozo like me casting into the wind. So you got a spinner rod, you can figure things out a lot of times. But I mean, I saw like 5 guys today go fish in the time I did with surf rods and not catch a single thing or try. One guy I talked to did catch some fish earlier, but you know, yeah. So maybe you're better off fishing out there. Maybe you're better off fishing out there. We're gonna put a stick on eye or two here. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't even fished out west. I'm assuming I don't know if the beaches are as steep as ours, but dude, it's not easy fly fishing out here. It'll really test your skill, and it'll really test your patience. Even today, I was like, man, it looked good, right, and this and that, and it was like looking nice, but man, it's just like constant line management issues, constant waves. You got to constantly walk back and forth and deal with it. It's like it's such a pain in the ass doing this sort of fishing at times. I love it. I'm like addicted to surf fishing. It's like since I was a kid, was my favorite way to fish. But like my area in particular with the fly rod, dude, it's so tough. So tough at times. I remember why like I stopped doing it consistently, especially when I started having back issues years ago. Because I used to go fish like during this time of the year. I would like, especially I didn't even albie fish till like maybe 10 years ago or 8 or 9 years ago. I started really focusing on albies. Before that, I would just striper fish all fall, and do this sort of fishing. So that was like all I did. But the striper fishing was good, you know? That like mid 2000s period, after that like boom and striper spawning and stuff, we had so many, like the stock was so good. We would have blitzes in the spring, in the surf. Like that's unheard of. You wouldn't see that nowadays, like bass blitzing on bay anchovies in the spring or something, right? Or herring or something. Or it used to be the herring runs in the fall out here off my beaches, but you just don't hear about that stuff. It just doesn't really happen. Who knows if there's even really herring like that. So yeah, I've been using a floating line. It's either you go full sink and cut through, or you need a floating line, intermediate in any way, shape, or form, or like a sink tip with an intermediate, or sink tip with a floating. A sink tip with a floating could potentially work, but the waves in the line, the current's so strong, so the floating line is able to just float over the waves. But again, you have to keep the tension with your line and keep your line straight, and you need to, at times, this is why having a switch rod helps, is I can lift my rod and strip a little and get my line over the breaking wave so it doesn't come tumbling towards me. So it definitely is like you got to cast, wait for the waves, cast in between the waves. You got to keep your line tension right. Today was the first day that I could actually cast 100 feet, and probably a good 2/3 of the cast I was actually fishing the fly properly. Because before that, every day the wave sets were so close, there was about 5-second gap between the waves to where my fly was actually swimming. Before then, the current would come and the next wave would break, and then the line would go shooting, and at that point the fly is like swinging through the surf at Mach speed 10, so it's not very like a realistic presentation. So, but the beaches are setting up for it, Let's try the thick. I haven't used, this is what I used to use the thick primarily for, was for the heads. The herring is like that right now over here. They seem to be everywhere. That's awesome. Yeah, so I want to say these were like the blueback herring flies you'd see people tie. I don't think this is the same herring like the Atlantic herring. I think this is a different type of herring, but there was a certain run in December of these certain herring that would happen in Montauk and on Long Island and places like Jersey, where it would be this wintertime herring fishing in like late December or something. And people were catching like 40, 50 pound striped bass in the surf back on like in the, 90s and stuff on flies or off boats on these herring runs. But I don't know if that's even like really still a thing. I think I asked somebody and they said that's not really a thing anymore. It has stopped happening a while ago, but you can read about it in books. They talk about the winter herring runs, and you would be like fishing near Christmas, and it would be like you catching 40-pound straight bass in snow. You know what I mean? On herring, it was crazy. So, by the way, new bodkin, $2 or $3. So very cool. A lot of bluefin caught and seen this year. I've seen that. There's a lot of bluefin and like stuff like that being seen off Ireland and the UK and places like that. I've seen that, yep, which is awesome. It's the same thing like we have. I guess we're very close. Very close in terms of like, you know, where we are in the Atlantic. So, just opposite sides of the Atlantic. Temperature-wise and this and that. And if you got the bait, man, the tuna will come, so. For us, the bunker, and for you, probably the herring and those big sand eels and stuff. I saw a video. I don't know if it was England or if it was Ireland, but the guy was in the kayak filming or something, and there was giant bluefin, like 500-600 pound, jumping out right next to him, chasing like half beaks or something, or sand eels. It was crazy. Definitely wild. All right, well, this looks good. I might have overdone it for a $14 fly or whatever. This should be like an $18 bucktail deceiver, but that's all right. It probably would have only took me about half an hour to tie. It took me an hour and a half to tie it on stream because I yap like crazy. But that's okay. That's what we're here for, anyways. Oh no, my peacock's hurl's slightly offset. That's okay. Oh no, what will we do? The fish will never eat it. But yeah, this is designed to be... Like, you could easily fish this with the surf rod. I was essentially fishing a fly this big. And this bulky, if you will, all day with the... from the surf. But he's going to be fishing from a boat. So heavy sink tip, or heavy sink line, full sink, I think. And if I'm not wrong, or maybe a sink tip. And then short leader, and get it down below the bunker pods and stuff like that. So, and let the natural material do the work and try and entice a fish. So, very nice though. I just love, these are like my favorite flies to tie, this sort of fly. Like, just a nice 6.5 to like 8 inch, maybe 9 inch, just like certain like big striper flies, you know, but they're not too big. Like, they're just fun to tie. It doesn't matter what pattern either. A lot of times they're just great. Yep. Yeah, I figured. I was like, man, that was, man. I mean, you would never want to hook one of those things, from sure, with a fly rod, let alone, God, even like a spinning rod. I mean, good luck. Good luck. Don't have your drag set too tight. It'll be like a Looney Tunes thing where your shoes are sitting on the rocks and the bluefin tuna. You just see you flying off through the air, but your shoes are still there. Dude, could you imagine? I mean, they're so graceful that they would never hit the kayak, but could you imagine if for some reason something happened and one of those jumped out of the water and hit that dude in the kayak? Oh my God, like 500-600 pounds of fish jumping, moving through the water with like that ferocity. It could probably like kill you or something. And it would never happen because like they're such masters of like swimming. There's really cool videos of bluefin tuna, giant ones like 600, 700, 800 pounds like that, eating pieces of bait and stuff without even breaking the water. Like, how a fish that big can come up and turn on its side on the water and not, like, make a boil. You know what I mean? Like, a striped bass would make a larger splash than that fish did. I saw some really cool videos of them doing that. So, it just goes to show how, like, in touch they are with their bodies when it comes to swimming. They're, like, masters of swimming and movement. But yeah, get a headbutt from a 600-pound tuna while you're in the kayak. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm pretty certain you would. Unless the kayak instantly flipped, right? And you gave some way. Yeah, that would be wild. Oh my god. Definitely a little. I'd be like, maybe I should move. Because I'm not gonna lie, dude. That is like, and it's not gonna eat you, right? But when you see a fish that big, like blow up right next to you, and you're in a kayak, like I used to get scared from seals when there'd be a 200-pound seal that would slap its tail in the water at night. You know what I mean? So like when you see something that big like next to you, I mean, you know it's a tuna, but still, it's like, oh, dude, I might wanna. You gotta watch out from the wake on one of those things. Yo, what's going on, Jin? How's it going, dude? All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and I'm just gonna grab another drink real quick, and then we'll come back and what we'll do is we'll tie some sort of fly for the surf for myself. So, but appreciate everyone hanging out and watching. What do you call it? Let's play our little Albie away video just for a sec, and I'll be back in just a moment. So, all right, how's it going, Jin? What's up, dude? We'll catch up here in a sec. Let me go grab a drink. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Stay tight, all right? Yeah, keep it tight. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Aiden. Knuckle buster. Are you good? Do you need me to do anything?
Yeah, I might need a ride. Yes.
Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna turn now.
I'm gonna try and get on the bow.
Yeah, get on the bow. All right, you're doing good. Keep doing your thing. I'm gonna move us away.
Is that a little one?
No, that's a nice one.
Oh, let's go!
Come here, hold next to our alley. Good job.
That's sick.
All right. Nice.
Let's go! Woo! Albie slap!
Good job, dude.
Yee!
Looking down the barrel of a 12-gauge little tuny, bro. On the alligator too. my god, dude! What the fuck? Woohoo! Oh my god. Yep. Oh my god! I gotta turn the boat so I can cast. Oh my god, dude! Alright, get back to catching him, Diego.
You're gonna go on now. There's a shark.
Frigates!
Albie?
Frigates.
Frigate.
Whoa! Whoa! All right, we're back. So, let's see. Chilling and watching the game. Nice, nice. Excuse me. Let's see. I'm fishing the surf a lot. I do want to tie something that can get down. I do want to get a full sink line for the surf as well. Unfortunately, my Rio striper line with the sink tip I have, it's like at some point the loop broke. So I did a double surgeon's loop, and that's how I fished. But I'm seeing cracks on like the sink tip area. So I had to recut it and tie it and whatnot. So I'm debating I should probably just get a new line at some point. So I kind of want to try Cortland's out. So apparently we were tying Rusafish flies for or he was using our flies, the owner of Cortland. So I might try and get in touch with them or something at some point. But I want to try like some serious sink lines and not only have that for boats, but also try it for the surf and just cut straight through and dredge some sort of sand eel flies. So that's kind of the idea. I don't really have like I really got to get some jig hooks specifically for these sort of things, but we'll tie something. We'll tie something. See what sort of hooks I have. Now I also bought these crazy. This was specifically, now they're probably too heavy. I should probably like fish these with like an actual spin rod, but we bought these crazy weighted hooks, and I think if we get less weight, I think if we get the right weight, let me show you, this could work. This is 1/16 of an ounce. That's kind of heavy. I think we also got an 1/8 of an ounce, which is too heavy. Now I'm gonna be honest with you though, I feel like I could throw this on my fly rod. I really do. With the switch rod, 1/16 of an ounce. Let's try it. These are, I'll tell you the hook. Hold on. These are Gamakatsu weighted Superline EWGs. So I'm assuming you take a soft plastic, you run it through So you have it sitting here and sitting like this, and then you have your weighted body here, right? But I'm curious if we can actually fish this with a fly. As a fly. I really don't feel like it's heavier. DBIs can get heavier than that? Yeah, I mean, I really don't feel like it's actually that heavy. I remember we were talking about it, and everyone was like, oh, it's too heavy. But I think we had a 1/4 inch, which was like, that was definitely too heavy. But so we'll give it a shot. We'll try it out. It's kind of awkward to tie with, but probably some sort of high-low, or just high tie style, like Henry Cowan. We had him in the stream the other day, and we were tying his fly, the darting pattern. I don't think this will have the same response, but you know what? This might be a trick to getting that sort of similar style. I don't know if the weight is distributed properly for that, but you know, it could, for all I know. I don't know. We're going to use bucktail because bucktail is durable. It will not only it shouldn't foul either because it's pretty stiff, but the main spiel behind it, it's also going to help turn over the fly, even though we shouldn't really have to worry about that when there's a 1/16 of an ounce. So we could, maybe we'll mix natural and synthetic. Who knows? But I think we're going to start with bucktail. And maybe we'll do synthetics mixed with some natural. A little bit of bucktail for some support. Actually add a little more. And I'm trying to think, do I want to use all bucktail? I guess I could tie a couple, but I don't want to stream too late. I think we're going to actually use some synthetics. But I do want to make sure I have naturals mixed, so. Now, I'm worried about it fouling, but it's just like a gigantic hook. So, that is one of the issues. I mean, in reality, I'm thinking this is a gigantic hook, right? But if you look at like striper hooks that they use for spin fishing, it's like whatever, not that big of a deal, and they have huge mouths, so it's just funny in relation to flies. A lot of times it's like, what the hell are we doing here? So yeah, let's do it. We're going to essentially replicate Henry Cohen's fly. Now, we did add some bucktail, so that might change things, but who knows? We're going to try it. That reminds me, I actually need to order stuff from saltwaterflies.com. Now, I believe all he does is high-low tie, so that is what we are going to do. I am going to make this somewhat larger. But what we learned with the Henry Cowan flies, not Cohen, Henry Cowan. Hopefully I didn't say Cohen there. I think I did. That was a slip-up. What do you call it? What we're trying to do is we got to tie him sparse. That's what we've learned for sure after seeing his flies in person. Nice and sparse. Now, he actually had some tied off the bottom as well. I think I'm going to try and tie mine all off the top. I mean, we're kind of doing like our own style of this fly. And we're just going to build up our profile. Kind of like a big bend back, almost. We might do a little off the belly. The one we tied that night, I actually went and fished. It did not swim right, but I also kind of knew that was going to happen because we didn't use a heavy enough hook and stuff like that. So maybe we'll tie off the back a little and then we could tie some. But I think with the shape of this hook, we kind of just want to tie it all on top. Maybe tie the bucktail on stiff mono and attach it to the straight part of the hook. So tie something like tie bucktail on mono here and have it like the mono sticking like this. That could be interesting. I think we could just tie the bucktail on this straight part, But I get what you're saying. The thing you got to worry about with surf fishing is it's going to get beat the hell up, right? So that thing's going to get bent like this or something, the mono. But that could be like a funky thing to do. I guess the reason you would... what's the benefit of doing that? Would be... And you're talking about here, right? You're not talking about off the back. You could certainly do it off the back and do like a beast fly, right? But, what do you call it? yeah, I don't know. I guess you would just get a little bit of length. Do I still have my test tank for the flies? Hey, Beer Chug, yes, I do. Actually, it's right here. I got to start using it a little bit more. It kind of sucks at times because the little nubs here don't hold this in place, so I have to stick a bodkin in and jam it. But really, it's just like I have to make sure I clean it every time and then dump all the water out. So I'm just lazy. But yeah, I got to make sure I start using this more because it really does. It is nice for the fly time videos. What I was doing is just going out fishing and showing the fly, but it definitely adds something to the fly tying videos. I don't use it during the stream because it's just a pain in the ass, but yeah, I still got it for sure. It's great. It's not bad. It could be better in certain ways, I think, but it does its job. We had a fish tank before, and it was definitely not as good. We made our own at some point. And I said, all right, screw it. We're going to buy the real thing for $100 and something bucks. Because I think they released the newer version of this like 4 or 5 years ago or something. It's probably been a while now. So we're just kind of building up our profile here with the Steve Farrar fiber, which has some flash blended in. We could just take some straight up Flashabou and tie that in too. Or we could, maybe what we'll do is we'll tie some angel hair off the belly. Yeah. Let's do something crazy. Sure, why not? Let's do something like this. And V-tie some angel hair off the belly. And keep it short. So we cover up that that lead. I guess if we really wanted to be fancy, we wrap Bill's body braid over all this. Or like a Staz. You could wrap a Staz for some like chunky flash, right? If you want to. But we're just being lazy and just tying for fun, so. We got some white. Do we want to go mostly white body? I think we do. And then we add colors on the last couple ties. That's kind of how I like doing it. So it's a very simple fly in reality. I posted the video for the stiff rig in the fly tying section in Discord. Let's take a look. Hold on. Oh, is my thing not going to work? I wonder. Yeah, I got to unplug it and plug it back in. I see. Yeah, I remember. Oh, dude, we could probably do something like this then. Maybe not now, but in the future for sure. Hold on. And you're going to hear noise. That's my computer, by the way. That's me. Ow. Oh, come on, you stupid thing. Why is it so hard to get a USB back in? There we go. Okay, give it a sec. Hold on. Video, deactivate, activate. Whoa, dude, Mountain Dew, Tropical Super Blast. Get blasted. I don't think I'm following this. I think I've watched his stuff a couple times, so I got to make sure I subscribe to him. But Paul Monahan, I think, is how you pronounce his name. But let's take a look, real quick. Yeah, so he's got an extension. Yeah. Ah, I see. That's to make sure you don't lose the hook. And maybe for another reason, but... Dude's got 2 cameras, balling. So there's a bead on there. Okay, so you got a bead. Maybe that helps also stabilize the hook so it doesn't swing around as much. Oh, you actually tie it after. Ah, I see. So it's literally just an extension. It doesn't actually swivel, does it? No, it doesn't. That's just a way to cheat an extension. Okay, I see. Yeah, he ties amazing stuff. I'd say he's on par with like Jason Taylor, Andrew's custom flies, people like that with his like hollow flies and stuff. So we're V-tying, very nice. Yep, yep. Nice and sparse. Now we're hollow tying as well as... Okay, we're adding some hackle, yep, with the hollow off the back. Oh, we're keeping the synthetics up top. I like it. I like it. I don't know if we're going to do it right now because it's getting late, but we're going to have to do it next week. And we're going to use the weighted version, I guess. For this particular style of hook, yes. Yeah, I could never tie hollow flies this nice, but we'll do something. Very nice. Now, the whole reason I wanted to do this in particular, shout out, by the way, check out Paul Monahan. I believe I'm pronouncing that right, but it's Monaghan. So go give him a sub on YouTube, by the way. So he's been doing this for a long time, by the way, as well. So you can see the quality of video 5 years ago. So, but yeah. So I have shanks. I don't know if I have them that long, so we'd need to get the right shanks. We get wire. We put a bead, whatever. We tie that, and we have this weight. This will probably also make it easier to cast. The idea is to offset it, and it'll sink. I got something like this for fishing off a boat. You are working with limited space here, so I believe that is he's found the solution for that, right? But so we're gonna have to try that. I think I'm gonna have to get like the proper material, the proper shanks and stuff. But how about that? We'll do that next week. Remind me. What do you call it? Remind me on the next week. I'll make sure to pick up shanks, the right ones, because that's sick. We'll definitely do something like that for sure. It's a great looking pattern. And I think that'll work well for like the solution that we're essentially trying to do, which is get like, get some more length and space to work with to tie essentially a larger fly. I don't know how this is going to work for the surf, but something like a boat, that's going to be fantastic. For the surf, it might be fantastic because the whole idea is we're not dragging the hook across the bottom the whole time, right? So, but I don't know. I don't know how this will perform for something like that. In reality, you're always best off with just fishing with like a snake fly or something that's buoyant like that. A fly that's designed for the surf. But I think we could definitely do some interesting stuff, right? Now, I think here I'm going to start shortening the length of the material drastically because I don't want it to foul. We're tying a much smaller fly than what we just saw, but... Well, do we have to shorten it drastically? We'll shorten it somewhat. And that way we can mix the naturals, the synthetics. The stainless steel wire for shark rigs is what I use for shanks. Interesting, really. Well, I guess it depends what weight wire, right? Because I have some, but it's what was it, 100 pound or 120, I think we were using for sharks. And it's like it's like you have to use a bender and stuff, but it's really, really thin compared to like what shanks you would see for materials. But I guess I've had a lot of people talk about that they make their own shanks and stuff. Wire bending tool. Yeah. See, I had like shark wire, but for fly fishing, so we had way lighter stuff. But I know what you're saying, the heavy stuff, I guess. Yep. It's kind of awkward to tie on the bottom here. for sure. I don't really have a lot of pearl. Some of the pearl was in the bag. Now we're going to silver because that's what I got. Maybe do some like marabou off the belly or something. Nah, we'll keep it all flash. Why not? We're just experimenting here. I like that though. Good call out, Jin. I mean not Jin. Doc. We're going to I'm gonna give this a like too because it's a great video. We're gonna experiment with that style of pattern and that fly, using that video as inspiration for what we're gonna mess around with next stream. I'll probably tie a couple or try and mess around with it off stream so I can figure it out myself. And you know what? Like, I like watching skimming through the video. I don't like watching the whole thing. I might watch the start where he talks about the wire and whatnot. But I like kind of figuring that out myself. That's kind of the fun with fly tying for me. I don't want to watch like the entire step-by-step process. I kind of like skimming through it and then trying it myself and trial and erroring it. Oh God, I can't even talk. Sound like I'm having a stroke. Got a little pink here, and then we can start adding some colors. Hard on the fingers, but save a few pennies. Yeah. Well, I just don't use shanks a lot, right? So I might even have something, but I don't know if I have some in that size. I very well might. I gotta take a look. I think it's a little bit longer. I think I have shanks like that big, and I feel like they're a little thin. Those were like double shanks that he has, which I like those where it's the wire on both sides and it runs the whole way. They're way stiffer, I feel like, but then compared to like some other shanks I've gotten in the past. So we'll have to see. I guess ideally you don't want to make it. I mean, this is already quite a large hook and quite a large fly, right? You don't need the shank to be that long. You really only need it to be as long as he made it, and then you tie your materials. But yep, homemade. Well, you can't beat homemade, so we all know that. When the apocalypse happens, you got your own shanks. When the apocalypse happens, I got my own fly tying shanks. Like that'll be I think we'll have probably bigger options or bigger issues to deal with. The zombie apocalypse. Hey, we're getting closer to Halloween. It's October. We'll probably just stream and tie some flies and chit chat. You know what I mean? Maybe Mike Ross will make an appearance. We'll bail him out from Tijuana for an hour. Let's go with some chartreuse. Yellow chartreuse. No, let's just go tan. Let's keep it like more muted or natural. Let's go olive. Yeah. So actually, let me write all this down. I gotta order stuff. Whoa! Tired of looking for a name. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. That is very kind of you. Get some, if you have emotes on YouTube, which if you're a member you do, put some Albies in the chat. And if you're watching on Twitch, get some LI Flies hearts. I got to update some of the emotes as well. Oh, that reminds me. Actually, I have to upload some emotes to Twitch. I forgot I had to upload 3 sizes. That was the whole thing. Or the badges. Yeah, the badge. But thank you, Tired. Appreciate that. Very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. Let me write down. I need olive Steve Farrar fiber, SF blend, and I need olive kinky or slinky fiber. Because I have orders coming up, I have to tie stuff. I need shanks for, we'll just say, Monahan fly. What else? I need 3D eyes for candy size. And no, stick-on eyes for candy size, and I need 3D eyes for big flies. For hollows, I'll just write big. Okay. I'm making a little list because I'm going to order saltwater flies from saltwaterflies.com after the stream. Because I'm running low on some supplies, so. And I have some orders and stuff. All right. But thank you again. Appreciate that. I hope you've been having a great week. Does anyone have anything interesting they're going to be doing for the weekend coming up? Doing some fishing? I'm pretty much going every day, so for an hour or two. So here's what I usually tie one fly before I go fishing. This is like my routine for surf fishing. So I'm very tempted because I'm going to be making obviously our traditional fly tying videos and stuff. Like I've been very busy fly tying, getting work done so I could, get money to pay bills and stuff. But we got caught up with our orders. So I'm going to get back to making, a couple of videos a week because it's been a week since our last video. I like having 2 videos a week ideally. But we've been doing some fishing and we've been doing a lot of commercial tying. But I tie a fly before I go fishing every day. I'm very tempted to just film it and like not really go super crazy with like the like I have to set up my whole desk and like, where I have the black backdrop. I might just film it and I'm going to do the surf fly a day challenge for like a month or something where I make a pretty low effort video but like edit it down. Don't worry about how long it is or this and that and this and that, or and just film it, you know what I mean? And then do one a day. But that's a lot of work. But I'm very tempted to do it for like a month because I'm just pretty much doing that anyways. I tied a really sick fly today before I went fishing. I was like, I should have just recorded that. I'll just clear my desk off and just have the wood backdrop like this and just film it. So I think I'm going to do that though. Because I've tied some really cool flies recently that you guys didn't get to see. I was like, man, that would have been a cool, so I think I'm going to do that though. I don't know when. And I don't know if it's how long we're going to do it for, but definitely going to film some of those flies. But we'll let everybody know it's not like a normal tie-in tutorial. It's the pre-surf fly or something, or we got to come up with some cool name. All right. How do I do this anyways? Do I just keep going with colors? I've already I should have kept going with white, I guess, if I was going to go too much higher. Maybe now do we add some like bucktail to the belly a little bit? Yada yada. I really want to make sure it swims properly. Maybe add one more color to the top. But now we have this weird gap here. I'm actually going to take this this gray off. And we'll keep going for a little bit before we add the darker colors. Because I kind of just realized we've gotten to this weird area in the hook to where like actually tying is going to be awkward. So like I could see where having that extension piece is nice. So maybe we do just wrap it up. And then because you'd have a gap, you're going to have like a little gap here, which is kind of annoying, right? But whatever. You know what? That is what we're going to do. We're just going to... Yeah. That is what we're going to do. We're experimenting with our own little thing here. Then we'll add some black on top of this. Maybe we could tie some like... some flash or do something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Or maybe some red thread would be cool or something. It's kind of a weird angle, right? I've trying to pick up some of that fluorofiber. Look, dude, this is what I always say. Like, Johnny Kins talks about the pink in the gills but like the SF sort of blends and stuff. Henry Cowan talks, it's like the secret sauce is having that pink floral fiber in the throat. So, and this is what I always say, when you have somebody that has that much experience that's been doing this sort of stuff for this long, it's if they tell you something like that, it's worth trying it. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, sure, this one material and this one color is what truly made a difference in this fly, but you know what I've learned over the years is people have their reasons, and sometimes it's best to listen to them. So I'm personally, I got to order some of that stuff. It's not at saltwaterflies.com, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to pick it up from somewhere else, but I think Lure Parts Online has it, so that's where I'm going to get it. But I'm going to get specifically, there's a couple different colors. It's specifically the hot pink fluorofibers, which you need. So I'm going to try it out. I think we're going to make a video. I told Henry I'm going to make a video that where I tie two of the same flies, one with, one without, and we're going to fish it in the same exact way. Ideally, it'd be nice if we had two people at once. Then you run into the error of, well, there's different fishing techniques and styles that people have. So that's where if one person is, let's say, catching more on the other the fly with the pink, then you cut the fly off with the pink and you give it to the person not catching fish and see if they start catching fish. Then you can equate that out, you know. So we'll give it a try. I don't know, I'm curious. I am curious. And even if maybe maybe it obviously does make a difference for some reason, and instinctually they see that and it just creates a strike response. But it also could be some sort of thing to do with confidence or placebo, who knows. But what we've learned and what we've talked about when it comes to confidence in the flies that you fish, the more confident in a fly you are, the harder you are, the harder you're going to fish that fly. The more intent, you're going to fish that fly with intent. Let me say that. It took like 8 tries to get it out, but you're going to fish it with a purpose. And that's the whole thing. When you take a fly out of the box and you looked at, like, you tied this and you looked at it, or you bought this fly and you're like, dude, this is the money right here, you know? The main thing is not having doubt and like wanting to change your fly all the time and this and that, or you're fishing it and you're like, oh, I don't know, are they even going to eat this one? And you're like kind of half fishing it. You know what I mean? You're like in the back of your mind, you're like, I don't think they're going to eat this one. I should change it, shouldn't I? That sort of stuff getting in your head. You don't want to get in your head too much while fly fishing. It could be your downfall. What I've learned is you will go crazy. You will slowly lose your mind fishing for straight bass. It's part of the process. You go through the guilt, the acceptance, the doubt. What is it? The 5 stages or whatever, grief. Yep. That's what'll happen while you go striper fishing. You're like, what the hell is going on? You got a lot of time to think when you're not catching any fish, you know? And get dangerous. Alright, this is crazy right here. What you don't see is I'm completely leaning my body sideways around the camera so I can actually see what the hell I'm doing right now. Look, nobody said it was going to be pretty, chat. You know? Prototyping. I'm a fly tyer, not a fly designer. We went over this at the start of the stream. I already warned you. Alright? Alright. Maybe a little bit more black or something. And then we'll throw a little peacock curl on it. Call it a day. Glue some eyes on it, and I'll go chuck this thing in the surf. We had to start this fly, and then Doc showed us the far superior pattern afterwards. Thanks, Doc. Appreciate it. Now you got me thinking I got to change flies, and I'm not even on the water. That is absolutely the way to tie with this sort of hook, is what you posted. The weedless stiff rig and 3D bucktail fly is what he's calling it. surf fly fishing is still a mystery for me. It is absolutely still a mystery for me, and I've been doing it for 20 something years, Tired, but that's the whole thing where you're constantly going to learn doing it. So we're going to be making a video on it here soon. I've been going out filming every day. Even though I haven't been catching fish, I've been trying to film like footage on like timing your cast between the waves, looking for structure, line management, presentation, you know what I mean? These are all the pillars of fly fishing in general, but doing it in the surf can be really tough. It's not easy. But it's one of the most rewarding ways. I'm going to be honest with you, it's mostly about finding the fish. You got to find structure on the beach that will hold the fish. The greatest book that you can read when it comes to just in general, but specifically when it comes to surf fishing, I think he really, really understood what he was doing. Lou Tabery's Inshore Fly Fishing is my all-time favorite book for explaining fishing beaches and surf fishing and stuff. It's just so well made and describes things. There's so many amazing details. In fact, I think the person who did some of the illustrations in the book watched our stream before, or watches our stream. I remember we talked about this. But, so it's a small world. It's always funny. You never know who's going to be watching our stream. But, yeah. If you can find it, it's a fantastic book, or read digital version. Lou Tabery, Tabory. And it's Inshore Fly Fishing is the name. And I also have some other books on specifically surf fishing for striped bass. One was like Frank something, and he was, I don't think he was primarily a surf guy. I think he did, fly guy. I think he did surf and fly, but he did a book on surf fly fishing in like the 70s and 80s or something after the moratorium. I think he wrote it in like the 90s or early 2000s, but a lot of his experience was like from back then as well. So it was an interesting book. But I think Lou Tabery's Inshore Fly Fishing is, like, in my opinion, like the holy Bible of saltwater fly fishing. Frank, yes, Diagonalt or something like that. Yes, that's his name. Absolutely, that's his name. It's a great book, by the way. It's an interesting book. The man, like, I think he did others, like, you could tell he did, like, a lot of regular surf fishing, too. I don't think he primarily only fly fished, but somebody like that understands the surf fishing so well that if you give them a fly rod, they can work wonders. You know what I mean? So I think he does a very good job, too, of talking about, like, explaining, like, structures and beaches and stuff like that as well. But my favorite fly fishing book is Lou Tabery's Inshore Fly Fishing. That's, in my opinion, the greatest saltwater fly fishing book when it comes to, like, learning how to fly fish. It taught me pretty much everything I know. It doesn't mean I catch anything, but if I bring someone else there, you guys will probably catch something. I just don't ever catch anything, but the logic is sound. It's just I have shit luck. So that, you know, money can't fix that. So there's fish there. You could probably get them. What a freaking traffic jam we're running into over here. It's kind of tight working on this. He just passed away. He was a big Cape Cod fisherman. It's a fantastic book. We'll go over them. I broke out a lot of the old books recently. I found all my old fly tying books. So I brought them upstairs, and I have some downstairs as well. So we'll make videos. I want to make videos like just talking about that book or different books and like book suggestions, essentially. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, a lot of these books aren't available. So I'm like really curious. Can you not find the Kenny Abrams books online in terms like, can you not? I know a lot of people want to own the book, but even just reading the book, I really think it's worth reading some of these books, even if you can read the ebook version or something. I don't know if they are available or not. I know every time I mention Striper Moon, people go into the comments and videos are like, dude, I can't, this book's like $300. You know what I mean? You have a PDF of Inshore Fly Fishing, so much information, there's like 300 odd pages. It's fantastic. Yeah. I don't think you're going to be able to find the hardcover. like I have. But if you can, get it. Even if it's, if it's in your budget and you see it, get it. Because it is fantastic. You could probably also find it at local libraries. There was one at my local library. I don't know if there'll be one at everywhere. I live in a fishing town, but maybe you'll find one in a library. Back in the day, there used to be a ton of fly tying books in all my local libraries, Angelo Peluso, yeah. He's is he a Long Island guy? I think he is, right? I'm pretty sure he is, yeah. Fly Fishing the Surf. I think he had a couple books, right? I'm pretty certain he's a Long Island guy, right? Just from his accent, I think I remember. I think he had a video on like stripping, how to strip and stuff like that back in the day. I watched long time ago. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. Another great fisherman. I want to say he might have been a Long Island guy. See, I think we still use too much material. Now, mind you, we use a 1/16 of an ounce, so it'll be all right. Let's put some eyes on here. I don't know if I'm digging the angel hair off the belly, to be honest with you. But whatever. I was kind of going for like the, I don't know. It was just, you know what? We went for it. So what I'm thinking is let's glue the eyes right here or something, huh? Should we put the eyes here or should we put some eyes here and kind of deal with this ugliness? Maybe we just put some eyes here, like jumbo eyes, and cover this up. That might be the way to do it. It's not as realistic, but I mean, just think of like jigs and stuff like that, right? That might be, and we'll UV resin it up for durability. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Because it's like, got some crazy elephant, what do you call it? Elephant trunk off the front here. So we could go something like 3D eyes here, or we could put some eyes somewhere like here, is what I'm thinking. See, that's kind of funky. I don't know about that. Maybe like that is what I'm thinking. And keep the weight down as well. I think we'll do something like this, because that's kind of interesting. I'm curious how that's going to work. It'll have some like weight forwardness. We'll just use these 3D eyes. I'm going to put them on here, and then I'm going to just soak the crap out of this with super glue. And then we'll cover it. That's kind of interesting. Found Lou Tabry on Kindle? Okay, cool. Yeah, he is. Yep. I must be thinking of the same guy. I think he was a fly fishing captain, too. I remember seeing him at shows and stuff like that. I could be wrong. Maybe he like worked for a paper or something, or did something like that related. Or I know he had some books, like you said. Some might say that's excessive super glue. I say never enough. Probably too much, but that's okay. Make sure that we have a nice layer of super glue on the threads underneath these eyes, and then we'll UV resin it up. Build like a little weight to the front, so we have like a little, very small amount. Definitely make it durable, that's for certain. And it also kind of like splays this material here open, which is nice. And the reason why it's nice is it'll kind of like keep it from getting even more messed up, like tangled up and screwed up. Oops. Let that dry for a sec. Yeah, that's a fantastic book for the surf. And again, Frank Diagnault or something is his name. It was like Fly Fishing Surf or something. That was another good book. There's also Fly Fishing for Striped Bass, or Stripers on the Fly, I believe, by Lou Tabry is another book, which was another, I think that one was really good too, but I feel like his first one, he covered everything so well. You know what I mean? Now, one thing I will say, like I said, the fundamentals are all there, but I just think about reading that book, and I think about being a kid, and I think about I used to catch fish like in so many different places, and now I feel like a lot of those places I just never catch fish anymore. There's just less fish than there was back then during that book. If you read that book, man, he talks about how the weak fish was amazing. He talks about certain runs of fish that just don't happen anymore, or places or feeds. We used to have gigantic 10 to 15 pound bluefish on the North Shore of Long Island. And what they would do is, I think you've seen photos of me fly fishing where I held one as a kid in one of my videos, where I was a little kid with like a dishwashing basket around my waist. But and that was like a smaller bluefish. I was, just happy to catch one on the fly. But we used to catch gigantic, like the big ones you would see me catch in later years on the stream. And these bluefish would be chasing so many peanut bunkers. The peanut bunker would wash up on the beach. And I was a little kid fishing. And we would love it. But at the same time, I was still a little kid. So I'd feel bad for the peanut bunker. I was trying to throw the peanut bunker back. But there was a million peanut bunker just like slowly wiggling to death on the beach because the bluefish were just chasing them, and they were just jumping out of the water onto the beach out of pure fear. But that sort of thing just doesn't happen anymore. You don't see peanut bunker in that scale during the fall on the North Shore in that sort of levels. You don't see the giant bluefish feeding in huge groups right on your ankles. Those sort of things just don't happen. So it really sucks, but there's still amazing fishing to be had. But that time when that book was written was like the golden era of striper fishing and fishing in the Northeast. Bonito, albies, weak fish, striped bass, bluefish, and a lot of big fish, a lot of small fish, a lot of fish in general. It was just like the time to be alive and fish. I think back to some of those days, dude, and it was just like, I think back, I'm like, why do I never see those sort of things in the spring and the fall, certain feeding activities? It's just because that there's certain baits aren't around and there's not as many, But I was just thinking about that today. I was like, damn, dude. I remember like crazy blitzes in April on the beach, which was just like wild, and like May and stuff, which you would see at times, but it was like middle of the day, big bass blowing up. And I'm like freaking out trying to cast. I had like a 2-foot long leader. I'm like a little kid. I'm like 8 or 9 years old. I didn't know how to do anything back then. But just really cool times. So hopefully we get back to some of those times. But I'm going to be honest with you, chat. Man, Stripers got a big hurdle to cross when it comes to getting back their numbers like they used to have. So I don't know how they're going to do it, or if they're ever going to be able to do that again. But, I mean, we got to enjoy it while we can and do what we can to conserve it. Because, anyways, we don't got to get on all that all the time, doom and gloom. But for anyone that didn't get to fish back then, like, man, dude, it was so good. Still is. There's still amazing fishing, but like you can talk to anyone who's been around and striper fishing for 20, 30 years. You can see the difference over the years, There's ups and downs and stuff, but man, there was a period. And there was another peak time in like the mid 2000s as well. There were some really good points in like when would it be? Maybe like 2009, like 8-ish. I was like graduating high school. There were some like crazy days that we had. And it was all from shore, dude. Like so many good opportunities from shore. Now I feel like it could be a struggle, at least in my local area. Like it really has turned into a struggle to catch striped bass from shore nowadays. You can do it, but I mean, we used to catch so many more fish. I feel like. Either there's less fish, which I think is true, but there's also like there's less of a reason for them to come in. There's all these bunker and stuff, so. But I've been talking to people about this and stuff, and it's the class of fish that we're missing. It's this certain size of fish that isn't there because the spawning results never happened. So it's like, it takes a certain amount of years for them to grow to a certain size. So if you have bad spawning for, let's say, 4 or 5 years, then you're going to have a lack of certain fish in that size, later down the road, right? So we're in that period now where we're seeing the downside of poor striper spawning. Like the effects are like visible, you're seeing less fish in certain sizes like you used to. So there's less diversity in sizes of fish. You still may get big fish. You still may get keeper-sized bass and stuff. A lot of these smaller fish inshore, a lot of these certain sizes of schoolie sizes we used to get are far less common at times. So I feel like I say this a lot, but it is it's something to be concerned about, I think, at times for sure, when this is my entire livelihood. So I think it's okay for me to preach about it every once in a while, but I really hope we figure it out or get it rebounds, because I just think some days about like when I was a kid and it was just unbelievable. If I had the skills that I have now that I had like if I was able to be alive back then and like be able to cast 100 feet and have all this fly tying skill and like have a full fly box and full like a truck full of fly rods back in the 90s, dude, I probably would have it would have been amazing. Because I was just a little kid that could only go fishing every once in a while. I could only cast like 40 feet, at times with like I had like a Walmart fly rod type setup, one of those beginner fly rod things or something where the fly line has no grain to it at all, So I fished like that for a year before we actually went to like a real fly shop and got a proper setup and all that, and I kind of learned more and stuff. But anyways, reminiscing about the good old days. Nostalgia's a hell of a drug, chat. People will pay thousands of dollars for an N64 cartridge, so nostalgia's a hell of a drug. It certainly is. All right, well this is kind of cool fly. It's kind of interesting. I don't know how this is going to fish, but I'm curious. I'm also really curious, like the 16th of an ounce, what it's like to whip on the switch rod. I bet you it's not going to be an issue at all. And at this size, it's going to cast great. Now, I'm curious now with this weight, and we tie that larger style Monahan fly. So I'm going to be honest with you. This is cool, but that was sick. For this style hook, we take that shank, we tie that on there. So I'll make sure I have the wire, make sure I have the shank, get a bead. We're going to try and do it right. It's not going to look anywhere near as nice as his, because I know that he's an amazing fly tire. But we're going to give it our try, and we're going to try out this hook as well with the weight, because I'm curious how that affects it as well. And now, mind you, that will have the weight in the rear of the hook, all the way in the rear. So at that point, when we have the weight in the rear and you have that up front shank, right, and you tie a loop knot, are we going to get the Henry Cowan darting baitfish with that larger fly? I'm very curious. And there's a 16th of an ounce. Now, mind you, it's not, I wish this weight was further back, right? Because the cool thing about this is when they cast the lead on there, you're never going to be able to get this nice of like a transition if you attach some sort of weight to a hook, whether it's us doing the lead wire and tying it, or even the way Henry was tying the scud, attaching something to it. It's never going to be as elegant as if the weight was cast onto the hook, obviously. So this is kind of, it's, I think, not as far back as I would like it to potentially have that effect, but if we extend the length of the fly in general, now the weight is much more farther back. So it's interesting. I don't know. We'll see. This fly, though, either way, I think it should fish pretty good. It should fish okay. Pretty much all the material's tied up top. I could always like thin it down a little bit with synthetic scissors or something, but regular scissors for that matter. But yeah, I'm curious. I don't know. I'll probably take this and chuck it in the surf and just see what it's like to start. But I'll make sure I get the materials, and we'll try that Paul Monahan fly out. So that was really cool. So thanks for sharing that, Doc. You got the N64, just no cartridge? Oh, dude, you should definitely get some cartridges. I don't know what prices are for like Mario Kart or 64 or yada, 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 but there's definitely some cheaper games that you could get that, I'm sure you or your kids could appreciate it or something. You have kids, right? I think so. If not, yeah, we'll just say you do. I'm pretty certain you do. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, chat. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. I'm going to work on getting out some fly tying tutorials probably this weekend at some point, maybe Sunday, if not Monday. So this weekend I got a film. We're probably going to do a Henry Cowan pattern like at the Henry Cowan's baitfish, which are tied for the student Texas, so I got some good experience whipping those up, and they're a fun fly. And oh, you are a bachelor. Okay, nice, nice. I don't know why I just assumed you had kids or something, but that makes sense. You tie flies and stuff like that. You know, it's hard to find somebody that's willing to put up with us. So, anyways, thank you so much, chat. Appreciate it. It's more room for fly time material. That's why I'm single. You know what I mean? Do you think I could have a girlfriend or a wife when I got boxes of bucktail everywhere? They wouldn't put up with that. So they wouldn't put up with that. All right, chat. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate it. I'm going to be doing some more fishing over the weekend, getting more footage. And keep your eyes peeled. We'll have a fly tying tutorial soon and then some more videos. So we had to get caught up on some fly tying. I still have some more orders I got to work on and this and that, but it's not as busy as it was. So in terms of like having to get stuff done pretty quick. So, but Doc, Jin, Paul, appreciate it. Tired, thank you again for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Make sure to check out those Tabery books. They're fantastic. Jay, thanks again, brother. Appreciate it. Thanks for handing out. We got Jim, which I missed. I use nail polish to paint rattles and wire. Too many colors to name. To hide the weight on what we're tying. That would actually work really good, yeah. I missed that one, yep. If you're worried about the weight, remove some of it. Yeah, it's really on there. And Worm Yo, thanks for watching too. All right, chat. Beer Chug, thanks for handing out. You guys have an awesome night. We'll see you soon, all right? We'll keep your eyes peeled for some videos. But till then, peace.